I'm Brittany Lewis with Forbes Breaking News. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell on the Senate floor Thursday decried Democrats on inflation and the border. The Kentucky Republican blames President Biden's economic policies for what he describes as runaway inflation due to large spending packages passed last year. He also took aim at Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas over the continued surge of illegal border crossings. Mayorkas is testifying before a range of congressional committees this week and is facing repeated Republican scrutiny over the border. Let's listen in to the Republican Senate leader.
Runaway inflation is crushing working American families on Democrats' watch. The share of Americans who say the economy is our most important problem hasn't been this high since the last time Democrats controlled the White House. Just this morning, we got a devastating quarterly GDP report. The economy actually shrank 1.4% over the last 3 months. No longer are Democrats just presiding over a disappointing recovery. Now they've thrown the recovery into reverse, and we're actually going backward. We haven't seen inflation this bad in more than 40 years. Month after month of skyrocketing prices. It's exactly what everyone knew would happen if Democrats dumped $2 trillion in printed money on an economy that was already ready for a comeback. But Democrats rammed through the far-left spending, so working Americans are paying dearly. This week, the same Washington Democrats who drove this inflation have finally figured out their response. They want to raise taxes on the American people. The Democratic leader said this Tuesday, quote, "If you want to get rid of inflation, the only way to do it is to undo a lot of the Trump tax cuts and raise rates." No Republican is ever going to do that. So the only way to get rid of inflation is through reconciliation, said the Democratic leader. Now remember, Senator Schumer is the same person who said in March 2021, quote, "I do not think the dangers of inflation, at least in the near term, are very real." Now the same person who predicted that inflation would not happen is saying we have to fight inflation by dramatically raising taxes on the American people. The answer for Democrat hurting families once is for Democrats to hurt families twice. This is literally Democratic economic agenda for your family: high prices and less money. Republicans' 2017 tax cuts just about doubled the standard deduction for households. We created a brand new 0% tax bracket for the first $24,000 that a married couple brings in. Repealing that law would cut that in half and raise your taxes. That's what repealing the 2017 tax bill actually means. Republican tax cuts also double the child tax credit from $1,000 to $2,000, a tremendous help to working families. Repealing the 2017 tax law would slash those credits in half, but that's what Democrats say they want to do because of the inflation that they created. This is Senate Democrats' position. Because their bad decisions have hurt Americans once, the solution is to hurt Americans twice. First, they hurt you with inflation, and now they want to hurt you with tax hikes. We'll see what our citizens have to say about that later this year. Now, on another matter, yesterday's Secretary Mayorkas testified, quote, "We will not lose operational control of the border." But of course, the truth is, they already have. The Secretary's own Customs and Border Protection personnel are struggling to keep up with the massive numbers. Only halfway through the fiscal year, they've already encountered 1 million people trying to enter our country illegally. And that doesn't count all the people they actually never caught. But now President Biden wants to rip away the one remaining Band-Aid preserving any semblance of law and order. He's canceling the pandemic authorities that let CBP immediately turn people around and actually send them back home. This week, the administration put out a laughable excuse for a new border security plan. In this new memo, Secretary Mayorkas says he aims to have a total capacity to hold 18,000 illegal immigrants in custody at one time. But here's the problem. That's the number of illegal immigrants that some CBP officials fear we could soon be seeing every single day. Let me say that again. The administration hopes they'll soon be able to hold 18,000 people total in custody, while the experts warn we should soon have 18,000 coming in every single day. So perhaps that's why the second main point in this Mayorkas memo is this: moving with deliberate speed to mitigate potential overcrowding at Border Patrol stations. So if you translate that from Washington speak into plain English, it means they want to speed up catch and release a whole lot faster. They don't have a plan to secure the border. They have a plan to keep the turnstiles greased up and spinning as fast as possible. A total abdication and the opposite of what the American people expect. Now, one final matter. The free world has rallied behind Ukraine, including by supplying lethal aid the Ukrainians need to actually fight and win this war. But it's not enough for Americans and our allies to help arm Ukraine. We need to modernize and grow our own defenses at the same time. After just 2 months, our aid to Ukraine has drawn down a quarter of our entire stockpile of Stinger anti-air missiles and a third of our Javelin anti-tank missiles. Our eastern flank allies' stockpiles of similar weapons have also shrunk as well. So this is a wake-up call, and not just about our ability to support the current fight. Ukraine's expenditure rate of critical munitions should cause us to question whether our own wartime requirements for weapon systems and munitions are sufficient. This would be less of a problem if we had a robust defense industrial base to quickly refill our armories. But defense manufacturers have admitted that the production lines for some critical components have actually dried up, and it could be years before they could replace the weapons that we've sent to Ukraine. So, Mr. President, we live in a dangerous world, whether it's the prospect of escalation by Russia against NATO today, or the threat of aggression by China, Iran, North Korea, or some other adversary tomorrow. America must be prepared to project power all over the globe. We cannot assume our adversaries will give us time to prepare for battle or to restock in the middle of one. For the sake of deterring the next conflict, or winning it if deterrence fails, we must invest in our military readiness. For 2 years in a row, the administration has submitted budgets that do not adequately resource our military. They fail to even keep pace with President Biden's inflation, meaning a net cut in funding. And with prices soaring, it won't just take longer to build new Stingers and Javelins, it'll cost more for them as well. Congress has already given the administration significant tools and authorities to help America's defense industry address the urgent and growing demand for critical munitions and weapon systems. This is precisely the situation the Defense Production Act was designed to address. But instead of invoking the DPA as intended, this administration has entertained far-left schemes to use it for unrelated liberal goals like environmental policy. But I'm glad to hear President Biden will be traveling to Alabama next week to visit a facility that manufactures javelins. While he's there, I hope he'll reconsider what his administration is doing to ramp up production of other critical munitions and weapons systems. I hope he'll recognize what's needed to enhance America's security and that of our NATO Eastern Flank allies and Asian partners threatened by China. The president should use the powerful tools he already has to fix this shortfall before it's too late.